we are living in a world of opposites. Therefore, it is a dualistic world. There is a duality everywhere. When there is a day, there is a night. When there is a rising of sun, there is a setting of sun. When there is cold, there is heat, hot and cold. When there is good, there is bad. When there is something tall, there is something short. When there is something lean, there is something fat. Everywhere we see the opposite of everything. Therefore, our mind is constantly moving from one opposite to another opposite. In his first sermon called Dhamma Cakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha advised his disciples not to move into opposites, but to be in the middle position if one were to be enlightened. The opposites they are, as Buddha referred to, are in his word Kāmasukhallikāna yoga, Atthakilamatāna yoga. In modern sense, simply, it is getting addicted to pleasure and getting addicted to pain. People normally get addicted to pleasure, sensual pleasures. We all are seeking sensual pleasures. There is a natural instinct in us. It happens automatically. Because all our ancestors were seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. And we have inherited their genes, their blood, that has come down to us for millions and millions of years from our ancient ancestors. Therefore, we all have that tendency to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. Practically, to lead a successful life, we need that natural instinct to gain pleasures and get rid of pains. All our aim in all our activities are pivoted on that particular desire. The positive desire to achieve or get or enjoy pleasures. The negative desire to avoid, to get rid of all pains. Buddha said, there are two extremes that those who are bent on being enlightened should avoid. And that method he referred to as Majjhima Patipada. Be in the middle. But at the same time, he advised not to be attached even to the middle path. He was telling this through his own personal experience. While he was a young prince in the royal palace, as Prince Siddhartha, he was addicted to pleasures. He was attached to pleasures. He enjoyed a life of sensual pleasures, willingly. But he realized all those sensual pleasures are temporary. They are bound to decay and die. And he wanted to find out whether there is a permanent bliss. And the teachers in his time, the religious teachers, the sages taught him a path of self-mortification, giving pain to the body and the mind. For example, starving is a way, and living in the cold and living in the heat, undergoing difficulties. But that also, after about 7 years, Buddha realized ending in no bliss, only pain to the mind and the body, but no bliss. Then he thought not to go to the extremes and be in the middle. Ultimately, he realized one should not get attached even to the middle path. The painless, the comfortable or pleasant middle path. For example, when you are greedy for something, that is one extreme, you suffer mentally. There is tension until you achieve what we are desiring. Another extreme is hatred. When you hate something, until you get rid of what you hate, you are suffering tension. The mind free from greed and hatred. That means the mind free from attachment and resentment is blissful. But there is a natural tendency, there is an animal tendency, there is a human tendency. You get attached to your own state of bliss in your own mind. Until you are attached to that bliss or the middle path, you cannot get enlightenment. That is why Buddha said in Alagadappa Sutta, use the middle path I have taught you only as a raft, as a boat, to cross over onto the other side. That means the bliss of supreme bliss, the state of supreme bliss, eternal, permanent, supreme bliss. At the moment, we are living in a world of opposite, where there is bliss and pain both, where there is pleasure and pain. They get crop up alternatively. At one moment, we may be pleased, another moment we may be displeased. And at one moment we are happy, in another moment we are unhappy, because we are living in a dualistic world. When the mind is free from both happiness and unhappiness, when the mind is free from both pleasure and pain, when the mind is free from both attachment to pleasure and resentment of pain, the mind is calm and quiet. It becomes a tranquil mind, and there is a bliss of the tranquility. But once you get attached to that bliss, that again leads to pain and suffering. Why? That temporary bliss cannot last long. Even when you realize the bliss of nirvana at the end of your meditation, at the end of your practice, you see it all of a sudden. When you realize that this is nirvana, this is supreme bliss, you get attached to it. Then what happens is, you lose that bliss, because all attachment lead to the heating of the mind to a particular degree. Nirvana is a state mind free from heating. The mind gets heated when there is a motion. Attachment is a mental motion. Our mind is running towards something pleasant, that means there is attachment. In attachment, mind is running towards the pleasant, towards the pleasure. In resentment, the mind is running away from the unpleasant, away from the pain. they are movements. When the mind is in the middle position, there is no movement. The movement in the Buddha language is called samsarana, and non-movement is called nissarana. Nirvana is a state of non-movement. What is that state? In that state, you see things as they are realities. You become realistic. That means, that is called in Pali, yata bhuta jnana darsana. When you see things as they are and we realize that is their nature, you get the capacity, the ability, the capability to accept things as they are and to be content with them. And that is called yata labha santutti. Santutti means your bliss becomes saturated. Unfortunately, due to a natural tendency, you get attached to it. Attachment, the contact causes heat. The heat leads to motion and the motion leads to heat. The heat we experience as the tension in our mind. When we like something and get attached to it, there's a tension. Why is there tension? We are not sure whether we can keep it as long as we want, whether it will vanish. We know it through experience, because nothing pleasant can last long. Everything in this world is born to decay and die, because this is a dualistic world. This is a world of opposite. When there is the birth of pleasure, the death of that pleasure is inevitable because of the particular duality. Death of pleasure means pain. When there is pain, there is a tendency, when there is pleasure, there is a tendency for us to get the pain. And when there is pain, there is a tendency, a pleasure might come back again. Because the entire world is moving in wave formation. Wave, in one aspect it is rising, and in another aspect the wave is descending. Ascending and descending. When the pain is ascending, it is inevitably subject to descending. When the pleasure is ascending, it is inevitable, it is going to descend. Everything is born to decay and die. What is pain? It is a mental image, a mental formation. Pain is a mental formation, pleasure is a mental formation. All mental formations are born to decay and die. That is the original first realization that the Buddha's first disciple called ascetic Kondanya realized at the end of the Buddha's first sermon called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Buddha referred to the truth that Reverend Kondanya realized in his word as this: Yankincha samudaya dhammam sabbantan nirodhammanti. Whatever that arises in the mind is subject to nirodha, vanishing, ceasing. Any beginning has an end. Nothing can last long, both in time and in space. That is the dualistic nature of the world. Once you realize this particular truth perfectly, you would not get attached to anything pleasant, and you will not resent anything painful. You get the ability to accept them as they are. That is called yata labha santutti. When you accept things as they are, there is a great bliss in your life, because the mind is free from tension, free from motion. For 20 years after enlightenment, the only discipline that the Buddha gave to his disciples was Kanti Paraman Tato Tapo Titikha. The only discipline that I am teaching you, the great discipline I am teaching you, being patient. Being patient means not suppressing pain, accepting things as they are. That is the only path to enlightenment. When the ascetic called Bahya Dharmacharya heard this truth from the Buddha, he got enlightened within few seconds while standing on the road. Buddha said, Bahya, when you hear something, just be aware of the hearing, don't think of it. Accept it as it is. When you see something, accept it as it is. When you hear something, accept as it is. When you smell something, accept it as it is. When you taste something, accept it as it is. When you get a bodily sensation of something, accept it as it is. When an idea crops up in the mind, mental image crops up, accept it as it is. That means without going into the dualistic, without attachment, without resentment, without attachment to things that are pleasant, with no resentment to things that are unpleasant, accepting things as they are. That is the Buddhist realism, the path to realization of the ultimate truth called nirvana. And he got enlightened by realizing that particular truth. In nirvana, Buddha has mentioned there are no opposites. Nirvana is not outside you, it is inside you. It is the basis of your mind. It is the ultimate bottom of your mind that is covered up by your conscious mind, the thinking mind. Nirvana mind is not a thinking mind. We think only when there are opposites. When we are unhappy, we want to be happy and we are thinking of happiness. When we are happy, we think of unhappiness because we are not sure when this happiness comes to an end. And we are thinking of maintaining happiness. When there is unhappiness, we think of getting rid of unhappiness. There is thinking process. There is the thinking process only when there are opposites in our supermind or upper mind, not the subconscious mind. Beyond the subconscious mind, the original mind is free from opposites. That is the state of nirvana, free from dualities. In the Kevada Sutta of the Digha Nikaya, Buddha referred to certain realities of nirvana where there are no opposites. They say, these are the words, Etta digancha rasancha anuntulam subhasubham uparujjati. There is no what we call long, digam. There is nothing that we call short. There is nothing that we call anum. Anum means small. Tulam, there is nothing that we can call big. Subha, there is nothing that we can say good. There is nothing that we can say bad. That is total mind free from all judgment. When you say something is good, it's a judgment, mental judgment. When you say something is bad, it is a mental judgment. When you say something is tall, it is a mental judgment. When you say something is short, it's a mental judgment. It's a measurement. We have a measuring mind. We have criterion for measurement. We have measuring sticks in our mind. When you say hot, that's a measurement of temperature. When you say cold, it is a measurement of temperature. Every idea is a measurement. That is why the mind is called mana, meaning a measuring instrument. In nirvana, there is nothing that we can measure. It is the wideness, ultimate wideness, empty of all opposites, all dualities. That is why it is referred to as Advaita, no Dvaita, no opposites. When there are no opposites, there is no motion. You accept things as they are, but there is a danger until you get enlightened. You may get attached even to the bliss of enlightenment, which is free from opposites. Freedom from opposite is the ultimate bliss of mind. And that bliss is not born in the mind. That is the original nature. It is not an event, a happening in the mind, because it is the original nature of the mind. It cannot be done in the mind, akatam. Non-born means, in the Tatya Nibbana Sutta will say, not born, ajata, not happening, abhutam, not done, akata. It is not composed of something, asankata. Asankatam has another meaning. It does not change from one form to another form. The one aspect of asankata nature is Titasa anyatatta napanyayati in the Buddha word. One state does not get changed into another state. Changes are there when there are opposite, when there are dualities. And that non-dualistic original mind is inside us. For us to discover nowhere else but in our own mind. And that is the ultimate bliss that we can all realize. And that is called Nibbana in Pali and Nirvana in Sanskrit. Ultimate bliss that we are all entitled to. That we are all inherited by birth, but which we are not aware of, because it is hidden by our conscious mind that is always thinking. Non-thinking mind crops up in the Buddha as the enlightenment. Sankara gatan chittam. That is what he said in the first paean of joy. That means the mind got rid of all thinking, the main source of suffering. He referred to in his first sermon called Dhammacakkappavattana, saying, Panchapadana khandhapi dukkha. Thought is the main source of suffering. That bliss called nirvana can be conceived as a thought. That is why it is called atakavachara. We all are endowed with that supreme bliss, beyond all dualities, beyond all opposites of the world in which we are living. But that nirvana is nowhere else in our own world. Our world means not outside us, our world is inside us. The entire world that we see, that we understand, that we experience, is not outside us, but it is a creation of our own mind. When that creation stops, when that divine creativity, when the creator of the mind is removed from the mind, when the God creator from the mind is removed from the mind, there lies the supreme bliss of nirvana.